Welcome to Religiously Incorrect. We're so glad you're with us. We would love it if you would join us by subscribing on YouTube. Follow us on our Facebook page, Religiously Incorrect Podcast. And be sure to subscribe to your streaming service of choice, Spotify, iHeart Radio, Apple Music, or wherever you listen to your podcast. I'm Pastor Todd. I'm here with my main man, Pastor Jeff. Oh, Suki. And who we got with us today is our special guest.
And we are so honored. We got my homeboy, my home slice, my boy from the Y-Town.
The yo.
From the yo.
What they used to say, I can't even think of it. With the hat. Ace Coon Boom.
Ace Coon Boom.
There it is.
Yeah.
My man, DeMaine Kitchen.
Y'all need delivered.
He went back to the Coolie High days.
Right. How old are you?
Princeton, baby.
Right, Princeton? Okay, I was at Adams. Baby.
Okay.
Hey, we still good, though.
Right.
What's up, y'all?
Mr. President Kitchen. Mr. President Kitchen. Glad to have you with us. Glad to be in the building. And, you know, this is a new year. We have so much going on. What do you see as a major development this year in our country? What do you think is going to be the major development or the major news of our country? What do you think it's going to be all about?
I can answer.
Go ahead, bro.
Well, obviously, the presidential election is coming up.
Right.
And I think this may be one of the most divided years in the history of our country.
Can it be more
in
divided?
a long time.
Can it be more divided than it's already been?
Yes.
You think so?
Yes.
We on the Civil War proportions? You think we gonna take up arms?
I don't think we're gonna go there, but it's gonna be.
Because I already been to Canada once, so I know how to get there.
Listen, my passport has just been renewed.
Bruh.
I'll ride it out.
I told my wife you on your own.
Oh man.
We're gonna be trying, because my wife don't got hers either. We're gonna be Harriet Tubman. We're gonna be Harriet. We're gonna be trying to sneak him across.
I'll kill him dead before I get caught.
Meet me at Niagara Falls.
Right.
Yeah.
If you can get over the falls, you here, baby.
Right.
There, just a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be a year that, you know, the gas will be poured on the fire. Right now it's already a fire.
Okay.
But I think
the gas
as we
is coming.
get into whoever the candidates are gonna be, it's gonna intensify.
Okay. What do you think, Pastor Jeff?
I'm just gonna piggyback off what DeMaine said. I mean, we see there are people who have went to racial proportions. They are just open.
Okay.
They are open with racism now,
so-
like they've never been before, and it's
a badge of honor now.
Right.
Every day I get up in the morning and I look for that cross in the front yard, just see if I'm gonna see it one day. You just don't know.
And I mean, we don't want to make this show because we, you know, but it's a reality. This is a reality that, you know, I mean, I'm a member down at the, you know, where I go to the gym. Put it like that. Where I go to the gym.
Don't put nobody out there.
But I mean,
don't put this bad advertising.
Right.
Don't ruin anybody's business.
But locker room talk is a mug.
Oh man.
Okay.
Locker room, especially when your locker is way back here and they don't know you in there.
Right.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, they talk about the basketball team. They talk about the you know, the reason Ohio State lost, and you know, I mean, it's all us. We messed up everything.
It's all our fault. You people
should have fought harder.
You
people messed it all up, man.
But it's the truth, though. So our subject today, I like to call this the American Jesus. The American Jesus. And it's
here on a visa or
listen. He needs to check for his green card. These are perilous times for immigrants. He needs to check his card. But
how to get over the wall?
Listen, he walked through that joint
through Canada. He said he walked through it.
He walked through that joint.
He just passed by.
He had the glorified body.
I knew that wall wasn't gonna work.
Right. So this is my question for you guys. How do we square now, some 240 some odd years, you know, past the founding of this nation, on Christian principles, or supposedly Judeo-Christian principles? I think we have enough history and contemporary experience now to kind of assess and say, how exactly has that panned out? Do we really fit the mold of a Christian nation. And I'm not looking for flat yeses and nos because pundits have already done that. Right. But how do we square? Because it feels like that divide you were talking about, DeMaine, is not just political and it's not just racial, but it's also the view of who we are, who we've been, and where we're going. And so you can find that person who is still staunchly, we are God's chosen nation for this era. And often we sort of connect that to the biblical destiny of the world. We know, so we attach ourselves to Israel. And I joke about it sometimes, like we're like Israel Junior in some people's eyes. Like we're Israel Light. We're diet Israel.
Diet Israel. Israel Light.
Sugar-free Israel.
Israel Light.
But that we are pointing, and honestly, on my trip, that was a big theme. That our presence is helping to facilitate God's promise through Israel, which came off a little funky to me because I'm like, I don't think God needs no Americans' help to do his will. And if this country never existed, I'm pretty sure he would still take care of his people. But on the other side, you have that, sort of Jeremiah Wright, not God bless America, but God damn America, in the biblical sense, that we are damned because of the sins, the injustices, the false promises. So how do we square this? Can we square it in a reasonable way, or are we just coming to terms that whether it's legislation, whether it's our standards, our morality, that we're really not that place? What do you think, DeMaine?
Wow.
This is heavy, ain't it?
Man, you gonna
solve the world's problems in 3 minutes.
Me up with a softball.
Right.
Right.
So how are the kids doing?
Right. They're packing their bags for us to leave.
Right.
Wow. I mean, obviously, you can't debate the founding of our nation based on Judeo-Christian principles. And, again, I don't know if Thomas Jefferson and whoever else was all believers, but
no,
they were. They had
answer that right quick.
Right, they had a moral compass, right?
Okay.
And so I believe we kind of started as a moral place, and over time we became immoral. And now we're kind of amoral. There are no morals. Everybody's doing what's right in their own eyes. And so it depends
that's
on who
a good journey.
Ask.
Moral, immoral, amoral.
Yeah. Good. And I think that's where we are. We're in an amoral society where what's right for me is right, and I don't care if it offends you. The only thing that's offensive is Jesus. Everything goes.
Or trying to actually speak to some sort of morality.
Speaking to morality.
Who are you to tell me I shouldn't kill 9 people today?
Right.
There
are no absolutes.
Yeah.
Unless which is an absolute statement.
There no. Yeah. I feel you.
For me, I'm going to respectfully disagree.
Okay.
Only because how do we say that this country is started on morals and when honestly we got here unmorally. My man Freddie Haynes would always say in these not so United States of America,
right?
Because honestly we came by way of boat.
Yeah, no doubt.
We were forced here, and so.
And don't forget our indigenous friends
that were already
who were forced out of here. So one group was forced out, another group was forced.
The replacements. Yeah,
we were the original scabs.
The first scabs.
We're the original scabs.
Yeah, but I you have no disagreement from me on that at all. But what I'm saying is, in terms of the ideology, I understand all of the ugly history.
Right.
But what I'm simply saying is society as a whole, no matter how misinterpreted or misguided, they still
the ideal exists. The ideal of morality and freedom.
I got you.
And we always talked about the hypocrisy of obviously Declaration of Independence. Then you got a slave in the backyard while you're writing it.
All created equal.
Yeah, not you, Toby.
Sharpen his pencil.
Dave Chappelle did a hilarious joke about that. I know you guys all saw it, so I just advise you to all go watch the special on your own. But what I hear, guys, and funny because you talked about like the origins. You have indigenous people being basically a genocide in a way. And then you have the transatlantic slave trade, which ends up encompassing over 4 million people. And not to mention other, battles for supremacy, imperialism, and all that stuff. And so when I listen to my patriotic friends and nationalistic Christian friends talk about this stuff, and I heard one guy say it so flippantly. I mean, I was cracking up. And yes, this was on my trip. And he said it flippantly. He was like, yeah, our nation has had its problems. There was the whole slavery thing, but we fixed it. But we fixed it. I was like, you fixed it?
They did. With
1 million people?
With prison.
No, what I'm saying,
did you get your 40 acres and a mule yet?
Listen, I'm still waiting.
I don't even have a dog.
My daughter ain't getting a gerbil either.
I don't have anything to show for it, man.
But I mean, he literally said, I know we had our problems, but we fixed it. So my issue would be, if you say America was a Christian nation founded by Christians, I would ask, how would you define Christian? What would you define a Christian as? Someone who simply declares a certain morality? Because if I had a few slaves in my backyard and raped a few people once or twice a week, and then got up and preached every week, and everybody knew I had this going, would I be considered a Christian?
You may consider yourself a Christian.
In my own twisted.
God called you his.
Right.
And that's the
so
question.
we have the historical context. Now we know the ugly truth.
There's some people who do some other stuff like.
There are some
okay.
people. Okay.
Right now, today.
Well,
right. Well, notice I didn't say that we were founded by Christians. I said we had
on Judeo-Christian
we had a
values.
moral compass at the root of this nation's beginning, and based on biblical values.
Would Jesus be a proud American?
No,
he'd still be a Jewish carpenter.
You mean he wouldn't have immigrated to America? No. He wouldn't have immigrated for the opportunities and the.
It's too many people to heal over here.
Too many people to heal.
Yeah, he like y'all got me
out of power or something.
Y'all got me up in Cleveland Clinic all day.
Is this a Marvel? Is this the next Marvel movie?
Like I didn't come here to go to Cleveland Clinic every day, and you got Benny Hinn trying to put me out of business and stuff.
Man.
We don't need that.
Competition with
Benny Hinn and Jesus have a heel off.
Oh man.
So he.
Quicken Loans.
Why or why not would he? Let's just say, besides the fact that he's Jewish,
I know what you're saying.
Why or why not would he be proud to be an American? What would he be proud of?
I was going to say, I can't say, and again, we're dealing in hypotheticals, but I couldn't see him being pleased with the state of our society today.
Okay.
In the direction we're going. Again, where what was wrong is now celebrated as right. What's right was now being criticized as wrong. We've changed over as a nation and everything like that, but I think Jesus, if he were here, he were American, walking the streets of New York, he would still be the same person, and he would be broken at the state of our society and the things that he sees going on.
So we pretty much won like sin bingo. We've like hit all the squares.
We got all the squares.
We hit all, and the bonus. And the bonus in the middle.
I am
4 corners.
I am completely
4 corners.
I'm completely sure that America is corrupt within and fruitless without.
Oh shoot.
And so
write that down.
I'm just gonna record it when they broadcast.
And so what happened was Jesus is walking on his way from the temple and he sees a fig tree.
He's preaching now.
Right.
He sees a fig tree and he sees it, and from a distance it looks good. And this is America. From a distance it looks good, but when he gets up he doesn't see any fruit. There's leaves with no fruit. And so what happens is, the fruit is supposed to come before the leaves, but there's leaves and no fruit, and so Jesus curses it. And so when there's not only churches, people, period, who are just not bearing any fruit in America, and if they are bearing fruit, it's bad fruit. And so we have to be very, I don't think Jesus would be happy, fruit. Nor would he be pleased.
A lot of wax fruit.
Is there any good fruit?
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We can't paint it with a broad brush, but there's a lot of wax fruit.
Okay.
There's that fake fruit at Levine Furniture.
That be on the couch, been there for 9 years.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel you.
You got to do a close examination.
When you look at the makeup of our government and the way it's pointing, and I remember when there's like a new uproar every couple of years.
Right.
There's a war on Christmas. You remember the war on Christmas? Nativity can't be on City Hall, or Ten Commandments. Can't pray. Did you guys see the video of the Satan worshiper guy doing the prayer at the city council meeting?
No.
You have to
probably hilarious.
You have to watch it because a bunch of Christians like trying to shout him down. So he won the right to pray at a council meeting, and he did like a. This is so wrong because it is definitely demonic. By the way,
most gracious Beelzebub.
But it was. I think he was pranking him. I think it was a prank. I don't think he was real. But he had won the right, and he had like a black robe, like the Druids.
Carbonero.
And he was like, "Oh, darkness, blah 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 blah
Thank
blah."
Thank you, Prince of the Air.
And like every 3 seconds, somebody would jump up with a Bible and be like, "I bind you in the name of Jesus." And it was like this war.
And he was just eating it up.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like I think he did the whole thing for social media and no. But I mean, where do we see that going when we talk about we want our leaders, our government to reflect morality, and we grieve where immorality is being legalized in a way. How do we address that? How do we look at that? Can you legislate morality? Does it at least help to help people to avoid it, or are we just playing in waters that aren't for us to be in as on a government side?
Yeah, I won't say my position has changed. I guess I'm trying to get more mature.
Don't say the E word.
No. People say evolve.
Evolve.
No. I won't say that. I say more mature. A lot of people say you can't legislate morality, and I know what they mean. But I always say you actually can legislate morality. It's whose morals are you gonna allow to win, right? Because we're legislating morality now with same-sex marriage. We're legislating morality with transgender bathroom. Those are moral issues that are being legislated.
Right.
The question is, whose morals are we using as a gauge in society? So, but I understand the intent and the heart behind the statement. And no, you can't legislate morality in the sense that you're going to change people's hearts because it's the law. Right. You understand what I'm saying? And so,
So they have all the civil rights movement. We're still going to be some racists.
It's still going to be some racists. Thou should not murder can be hanging. You can get a tattoo and be sitting in jail doing 25 to life.
Usually the people who have that tattoo end up being the murderers.
They aren't even the murderers. That's what I'm saying. So you can't let a written a law or, some ordinance that city council passes that's basically designed to keep order, right, in society and things of that nature. There's always going to be a violation. And at the end of the day, those are individual convictions or lack of individual convictions that are the cause of, what we're seeing.
Gotcha. What do you think, Pastor?
Don't disagree with me again,
man.
No,
I'm not.
I'm ready for you to throw a chair, Doc.
I absolutely agree with you. That we those are things that are being legislated, and so I guess my question is, why are we putting these people into office?
Who is we though?
He just told us who he voted for. 45.
Right. No. I almost started to cuss on it. I was this close.
You're this close.
No, but I mean,
Jeff is good in Baptist.
Good in Baptist, my man.
I'm still.
You getting closer.
You getting there.
You getting closer.
I'm going back to Grandma's church. Get on the altar again.
Man.
I mean, I've never watched and witnessed. I'm obviously I love Barack, and I watched Clinton, and I even watched the Bushes. But I've never watched a president literally just spew curse words. Venom. I mean, just venom. Fire, I mean, just like this is broad. This is TV.
He'd be like, "Hey, beat that guy up right now." I mean, he said
he's so impulsive, man.
He is. I mean, it's just like, how do you?
Yeah.
You're the president.
He's like, look at Jim. Don't we hate Jim?
He's talking about handicapped people.
I wouldn't mind if you. I wouldn't mind if you beat him up a couple. I mean, he's really. I mean, the insults and all that. But I feel he is the reflection of what the country has become, which is why there's such a fervor. And I think it's beyond what they think they support. I think there's like a subconscious connection with that crass, venomous.
We always say it in church. We always say it in church that it starts the head.
Right.
And there's trickle down blessonomics.
But let's be honest. Okay, religiously incorrect. Can we be real religiously? Like for real.
Let's roll.
when we were teenage boys, everything from Rambo to sex scenes, we're just playing out our fantasies, and that's why we're attracted to it. And whatever it was, the nudie magazine or whatever, you boys, you know what I mean? You into and you just, and I think people have like almost like a Rambo, like say all the things I can't say or what used to be uncouth, and they live in that world because we are people of extremes. If without the restraint of God, we are a people of ridiculous lawlessness, and it's in people's hearts. There are people who wish they could walk down the street and say what they want to say to anybody who's different than them, treat people in any kind of way.
Well, did you see what happened with Dr. Capers?
No. Oh yeah. In the mall. In the mall. I don't know if they want to say their names on, but I know what you mean. But they had a guy just walk through the mall and just start saying crazy racist stuff. You don't belong here and blah blah blah. In front of their daughter.
In front of their daughter.
With no consequences.
And there is a boldness, and everybody with a red hat on is probably most aren't. But that's not the point. Is that we've definitely opened up. But to me, I feel like it's a revealing what's always been there. Right. And to go back to Jeff's lesson about the tree and the fruit and how you talked about that, I think even our laws and our position as the beacon of freedom are the leaves. It's the appearance, but the real fruit is the foundation that we've never really escaped from, and maybe never really as a country repented and repaired. You know, because I'm a big reparations guy. You got to repair. You can't just say, "Oh, we're sorry, guys." You know, like hey, natives, sorry.
Right.
Here's a casino. Right. You know, I mean that doesn't work. Right. You know, so
I'll take a casino, though.
But I feel like
dice anything, man.
But here's the we keep talking about coming judgment. I think we're already living under a form of judgment.
Nancy Pelosi said something. Nancy Pelosi said something so
Ichabod.
Good, yeah. Nancy Pelosi said something so profound to me. She said, and I don't know if I all the way agreed with her, but she said, at least her and those who work with her, she said, we're all willing to die for our country. We're all willing to die for America. But these people are willing to kill for it. I think that was very, to me, and because this guy that they killed, we put him where he is. We made him who he was. We literally financed his regime.
Right, so, and it makes me think about Malcolm X saying, when President Kennedy died, these are the chickens coming home to roost. And we got a whole lot of chickens out there. I mean, almost every unstable government in the world is traced back to some intervention from us and some Western powers. Yeah. I mean, and I know people will hate that because nationalism is stronger than it ever has been. Patriotism is stronger than it ever has been. But I don't think it's fair, and I'm sure God isn't pleased, that we put his seal on everything we seem to get away with.
Wow. Come on.
Like, just because you got... I preach all the time. Just because it's working for you don't mean it's righteous. Wow. You can sell drugs for 10 years and be living high off the hog. That don't mean you're right because you're getting away with it. I mean, you still have a consequence. And I feel like we're living, and even some of the battles we're fighting contemporary, the abortion battle, they want to repeal Roe versus Wade and all that stuff. Not the fact that I don't have a moral agreement with it, but I often look like, okay, are we really thinking through exactly what we have constructed to create that healthier society if we take all of this away? Do you know what it looks like in impoverished communities when there are not health centers? And I know I know how terrible it is.
Youngstown doesn't have no babies are being born in Youngstown, Ohio. We don't have a
there's no actual maternity health center.
There's not one at St. Elizabeth?
No, Boardman. Northside is closed.
Northside closed, yeah.
Yeah.
So so are we really thinking through? We could be like bloodthirsty to try to, again, legislate that morality or try to bring, but are we really thinking through what really goes on in the lives of everyday people? Right. And are we really committed to the structures that are healthy? Are we really committed? Because that's going to cost money. It's going to cost other voices and people being at the table. And I think and I think it's an American ideal, we're so obsessed with just saying we won without thinking about what does that really mean? What does it really mean?
So let me ask this. What's the alternative?
Joe Shelton, I'm joking.
I know, right? I'm just thinking as you're talking and we're talking, I mean, obviously, a lot of people are upset with what happened with, the Iran situation. We're upset with who's in power right now, so on and so forth. But one of the things that really I wrestle with is what's the alternative My dad and I have these conversations, and I'm saying,
Bernie.
okay. Well, some
I'm
people
joking.
say Bernie, some people say Nancy, some people say Hillary, whoever. But
Are there any good alternatives
well, that's
anymore?
what I'm asking. Like, you know,
I mean,
and
we
to
might as
me,
well make
I
Hulk
think
Hogan president at this point. I mean, what?
Jerry Springer,
Right? Who wants to
whoever.
be?
And I'm saying, you know,
Michelle.
I think we're oh, that would have been nice. That would have been nice. Yeah.
I would take somebody like a Colin Powell
I was gonna say, what do we
or
need?
somebody who has actually been to war.
Right.
Somebody who's
Absolutely.
actually been to war and knows what it looks like.
Absolutely.
Because at this point, and thankfully, you know, Obama, to be honest, was reserved and sometimes sort of fearful of really being as bold as he wanted to be. He knows his place in history. But now that we're past that and all that, we need somebody that knows what death and destruction really looks like, because now they're just playing toy soldiers with people's lives, and that is not real. Now, we need somebody who knows what it's like to shoot a man on a battlefield, and knows what it's like to send his soldiers out to die, because we used to have every couple presidents, if not every other president, used to be a former, you know, in the army or a general or something.
Yeah.
You got to have, because this is real stuff.
Well, let me ask you this, because, and I know your stance on Dr. Umar Johnson,
Umar.
but he said something that really struck me. He said, because we did not hold Obama accountable, for not doing what he should have done, even if it was in the last 6 months when he didn't have much to lose anyway.
Lame duck season.
Right. Even when he didn't have much to lose. Because we didn't hold Obama accountable, we are now going to have to suffer, because he...
Hold him accountable for what, though?
That's what I want to know.
just basically-
What else could
basically-
he do that this man hasn't already undone?
What I'm saying is, he's saying that because we didn't hold him accountable, we're now hostage to whatever Trump does.
Well, let me just say this. Number one,
And I'm just
everybody who gets in that office, realizes really, really quick that it is not really about just them. And there's an entire system and mechanism that operates outside of them that makes all this stuff go. Most of the policies, they don't even know what they're looking at. Somebody else read that stuff,
read 'em.
and it's his job to trumpet it. So
That's why they have advisors.
I feel like we're being toxic in a way by putting all the blame on Trump, Obama, Bush, and everybody else, because there's a whole system. There's a figurehead.
Well,
Well, that's why I
Trump
asked
is
what's the
ignoring all
alternative.
those rules. He don't care.
Well, he surrounded himself with a bunch of
Yeah.
his family. There's a lot of nepotism and cronyism.
Yeah, he got like 7-year-olds in his war cabinet now. I think like Elias is.
But that's the point.
He's like, I would do G.I. Joe like this. He's like, okay.
He got a little thumb. Yeah.
Playing Rock'em Sock'em in the Oval Office.
With the Iranians. Man.
Right.
But that was the heart of the question, though, as far as what's the alternative. Because, you know, we put a lot of credit and blame, and worse, we put a lot of faith in individuals, and our faith is misplaced in my mind. You know, we have a civic duty, but we we set ourselves up for disappointment and failure because we place so much faith in, you know, that office.
So then it goes back
Regardless of
to,
what it
as long as I got King Jesus.
I mean,
He's still on the throne.
yeah, no, not necessarily. And again, that's the default. That's the default. But we might need that. Go to the White House and
No, because they didn't. Them preachers have been to the White House. I don't know.
they came back changed.
Listen.
Change has
You
come
see that
over
last rally? They're it's like Jesus and Trump, and you're not sure who's who now. I mean,
Listen.
it's scary, and you know what? We're guilty too, because we elevated previous presidents to
But that's
hero
what I'm
worship
saying.
too.
Yeah,
But I feel like there's a fairness. It's cultural, historical. There's a lot more. That's just me. You know, I still got his books and
Listen,
picture on
there's
my
a
wall.
pride, no question.
There's a pride.
There's a pride.
You know. But I've gotten
because
up
we
and
never thought
preached,
we would see it.
disagreed, you know,
Absolutely.
with all of that stuff. And what I don't see is that happening, that reasonable disagreement where we really are just falling in line. So in general, how is there a way for America to get back on track, or are we just living in the last days, waiting for the Lord to come?
I'll leave that to Pastor.
Because I could just go ahead and move to Israel now and wait for him to come back.
I ain't moving over there.
I ain't moving.
It's safe. It's very. You stay away from the border. You know.
No, I don't know where the borders are.
No, that's actually a fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kept saying stuff like, so the border, but the fence is like 400 yards that way, and then they were like, look over there, that's Al Qaeda. I'm like, I'm getting back on the bus.
Yeah, they like, you know, the Gaza
Bye, Al
Strip.
Qaeda. I'll see y'all later.
Yeah.
Why y'all telling me ISIS is looking at me right now?
Right now. Yeah.
Right.
No, I'm cool.
So is there a way to get back? Or
I
are we
mean-
just on a train? We're on a highway.
I think we have America has slowly matriculated and is slowly matriculating to worse and worse. I mean, we've had these prayer rallies and we've had, these marches and we had all of that.
Revival in America.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, I love it. I love
I
love
don't.
to be part. I do. I love to preach
You
it.
don't love revival?
Don't. I don't love the whole "we can revive America" if we pray
No, I'm
hard
not
enough.
I'm not saying it can happen. I'm saying I love when it happens. I love it.
When did it happen?
But when are we going to revive it too, though? I don't want to go back to slavery.
I'm saying
and
I
civil
love
rights.
I'm saying I love the
Burning
services. I'm not saying they work, but I love the Browns. They just don't win.
Well, you need to listen. I got a jersey
Come
for
on,
you,
man.
Doc.
Leave my dudes alone, man.
I got a jersey and a terrible towel.
The devil.
Finally, come over to the winning side.
Yeah.
But I'm just
I'll
saying. I
take
mean,
it.
I
gotta
love the
drop my
church
car off.
services and all
So
that.
America is the Browns, basically what you're saying. We get a new coach every 4 years.
Every 4 years, new regime, and no wins.
Jeff
No
started this.
successes. Oh my God.
I'm done. The show is over.
Nah.
Cut.
Hey,
Stay
look,
here
I'm
and
logging
take this
out, man.
punishment.
I'm logging out.
Stay
Jeff,
here.
I'm with you.
Stay
It's
here and take this
over.
punishment.
Save yourself. Go on
And
without
by the
me.
way, when this show airs, I'm gonna post that infamous photo I have of Jeff wearing a Steelers jersey.
No, say it
So
ain't
that
so.
the whole world knows.
Say it ain't so.
And then they putting Cower in the Hall of Fame and all. Look, we all off the subject. Get back to
The American Jesus. That's what we were talking about, American Jesus. So you feel like we've just matriculated. I think we've jumped the shark. I think that there are certain moments in time and it's not even the national, everyday individual, community, family breakdowns. It really wasn't what some guy did in the White House. We got to be honest about that.
that's a true
It's really not what some guy did.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Or a series of guys.
And that's my point. We have to take ownership for our actions. As a man, if I leave my wife and kids, I don't care if Obama's in the White House or Trump or Bush or anybody else. That's just wrong. If
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just
you.
abandoning my kids,
And-
my responsibility.
And you're absolutely right, but it does bring out something in you. Who's in the office? Obama being in the office brought out a pride in me. And it might not have been a racial pride, but it was a pride.
Well, mine was a racial pride.
Not racial.
I was still broke under
racist.
Obama.
I mean,
You're still
racist.
broke.
I was broke under Bush, Obama, and Trump.
And so, but I'm saying since the pride is white America, America, and I think that's what he's brought out. Now, I'm not saying that he, like you said, it's always been there. It's
Yeah.
always been there.
It's like a college football rivalry now. It's just like who's winning these 4 years or 8 years. And you get to gloat and you get to say you're in control. And that, if you're on the winning side, you ignore the parts that are really losing.
Yeah.
And if you're on the losing side for this 4 or 8 years, you're ignoring the part that's really working.
Yeah.
And then to me, that's
That's
and
my
I think
fear.
that sports culture and that win culture, it like permeated more serious parts of our lives. Like we should be
Yeah.
thinking more serious and delicately about these things, but we're not. We're just rah rah rah.
Well, that's
Hey,
my
whoever's-
fear
man,
with-
this is the same dude who I'm over his house watching Ohio State. Don't let off the gas.
Listen,
don't let off the gas. Keep
This
on
dude-
going. Keep on.
Yeah, 'cause it's Ohio State.
a whole post every other minute.
Yes.
How you like that?
How y'all like that?
Horrible call.
Then I delete all of them when we lose.
OH. It should be O.
Just be oh.
But no, that's my fear when it comes to this election in 2020. We're so focused on getting 45 out. I'm worried about the replacement too.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, to me, it's like
We don't know if Bernie
a
wants
sleight
slaves.
of hands
Bernie might
or-
want some slaves. We don't
Well,
know.
one of the things that bothers me, I listen to these presidential debates, and it's always us versus them. But I'm like, you're not like me either. You know, you talk
Right.
about,
You don't speak for me.
These big corporations, these millionaires and billionaires. I'm like, every single person on that stage, with the exception of Tim Ryan, was a millionaire or billionaire.
Did Tim
or
Ryan ever
something.
make the stage?
He made the first one.
The first stage.
What, is
At
Buttigieg a
Stanball.
millionaire?
Who?
Buttigieg.
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 Man, come on, man. I'm gonna need you to say that name right, man.
Buttigieg.
Booty J. What you call him? What you call him?
This has been religiously incorrect.
The views expressed by
Views expressed by
by this
DeMaine's Kitchen
person reflect Second Baptist Church.
do not reflect.
I don't know, booty check, booty gig. I don't know what this guy's name
Buttigieg.
is.
It's Buttigieg.
I believe
But we can't have a President Buttigieg.
We
It
can't have a
happen.
President Buttigieg.
It can't happen.
Nah.
It just can't. My kids will grow up like we had a President
Buttigieg, man. Come on. What's that inauguration gonna look like?
Oh, man.
But everybody up there got their wealth through, some corporation or whatever, but then they try to act like they can identify with the common person.
They don't.
So yeah, I want 45 out, but I want to upgrade.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Let me upgrade.
Yeah, I don't want a equal. You know what I mean? Or I want, or worse, I want better.
I gotta think Bloomberg could be. He seems reasonable. I don't know why he jumped in, so late.
Maybe he wanted to get through all of the rigmarole,
all the
hoopla, whatever.
Yeah.
But
I think this is gonna forever change how we always thought and the rules of politics, what you can do, what you can't do, what you can say, I think he's just blown the whole thing open.
Yeah,
I think he's blown the whole thing.
Office.
The views of DeMaine Kitchen.
He has disgraced the office.
I do think from a presentation standpoint, he's definitely disgraced all the the dignity.
That's what I'm saying, because there's a professionalism. Even if I disagree with you,
can't be the manager of McDonald's acting like he acts, man.
On,
I mean, you can't. You couldn't keep your job anywhere saying
acting like that.
Anywhere.
And that's my point. There's a protocol.
You can't pick on handicapped people and stay working at Walmart.
Come on, man.
you can't.
That's all I'm saying.
But I just say in general, as we wrap up a little bit and kind of bring it home, I think we just have to be honest about our position. And I think it kind of reminds me of when we think about it, even biblically, and you're talking about, even funny how old saints used to say stuff that didn't make sense to us, but they were more deep than they thought they were. This world really ain't our home. And I'm not talking about just escaping.
No.
I'm not talking about escaping.
Right.
Like, I just can't wait for him to beam me up, Scotty. But I'm saying, like, I'm not putting my trust fully in this. I got obligations. I got to work, got to pay my bills, got to do my thing, do the right thing. But I'm really not about to, because people really have put their trust. And the worst thing is, if he gets voted out, that actually gives me fear. Because of the massive, almost cultic trust.
Yes.
Masses of people. Remember, 50% of the country.
Yes.
That's a lot of people.
But it's two-sided still to me. So you got that side of folk that is going to be so upset. Then you got folks, if he's out there, going to be so happy as if the next person is the savior.
But again, we don't know how to win and lose right anymore. It's like we tell our children, like be a good sport.
Right.
We don't know how to win or lose right anymore. So now
Losing
you got people
fun,
like,
though.
what did they do? Right, it's not. But look what happened when he got elected. They was like, go to Walmart and buy a gun,
right,
and all that stuff.
Right.
That was 12 years ago now.
Yeah. Yep.
Think about what we're gonna see if he gets voted out and one of these more liberal people get. I think it's
I'm
gonna
in total agreement with you. I think there's gonna be a rapid rush to the polls to vote Democrat, and they're not gonna care who it is.
And there are some bad Democrats.
Oh, some terrible Democrats.
And so, that's what gets under my
color
skin.
Terrible everything. Absolutely. And I'm afraid of people saying, I don't care who it is as long as it's blue. Like,
Right.
you better care.
You better
Right.
care. And that's
Are
what I'm
you
saying.
serious?
I need a little more than that.
But I think all in all, we have to reckon. And, I think of the kingdoms in the Bible and that great statue and all the kingdoms. We're not even in that statue, but we're just another kingdom that has risen and is having its failing, whether we want to admit it or not. And I think as Christians, instead of trying to pump this God's second best chosen people mess, that's basically what we're pushing. We're like God's second chosen
like a
people.
Spiritual elitist type of attitude.
We need to just be honest about it and say we are people who believe in Christ who happen to live in a country called America.
Because at the end of the day, America is not mentioned in the Bible.
And it can go away.
And it's not
it is not promised longevity.
in Revelation.
Thus and thus.
Period. I don't even know.
I can almost assume we might not even be around.
That's what I'm saying.
So you might want to just
don't
be
put
careful.
your stock in
and
America.
as one guy said, and the one thing, the most profound thing this guy said in Israel, our guide said, I mean, you want to talk about a slap down. He looked at that bus full of people, rah, 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 America, all that stuff. And he said, by the way, when we asked, he had one good quote I got to tell y'all. He said, y'all got all these translations of the Bible and this, that, and the other update. He said, we've been reading the same Bible for 2,000 years. Wow. And y'all change it like every 6 months.
Wow.
And put a new edition out at Walmart. But then he said on a country
Michael
level.
Bivens edition.
Right. But on the Michael Bivens. But I talked about all the editions this morning. I was like,
the Bible is poison.
the country Western Bible. the Kenny Rogers
The
Bible.
Hillbilly Handbook.
Right.
He said that Bible's poison.
Bad Bibles.
Oh my God.
So okay, so here's what he said though. He said when you're looking at history, you're trying to figure out how old this is and that is. He said honestly, he says, what's a few hundred years to a 6,000 to 8,000 year history?
Wow.
He says y'all don't understand that because y'all only been around for a few hundred years. You haven't even reached the age of dynasty yet. You're so young.
Wow.
He said the rest of us look at
And
you like
imploding already.
You're imploding already. He's like, you're so young and you're so he's literally like, many people in the world look at America as like the young, arrogant kid who thinks they figured out the world.
Ricky
in
Schroeder.
240
We're the silver spoons.
Right.
Ricky Schroeder.
So who thinks they figured out the world.
Wow.
When we've really only been around for a couple centuries, when you got thousands
Competing with
of
ancient
years
history.
competing with ancient history.
Wow.
So I think it's best for us to keep a God-centered perspective as opposed to a government-centered perspective.
Absolutely.
On our morality. And then, as DeMaine said, and thank you again for being with us, President
Please,
Kitchen.
yes, thank you.
Again, this is your last time. You're not invited back.
This is my last time. DeMaine Kitchen Council President.
Would you do us a favor and
I
get
approve
gelato?
this
Get
message.
gelato for us.
Yeah.
I approve this
Let's
message.
get somebody who knows what they're talking about in here. But let's
Be careful what you wish for. Love you, gelato.
Talking about people who ain't been around long. This has been religiously incorrect.
We're only 8 episodes in.
8 episodes in and already censored by the federal government.
We've already been shut down. Are we syndicated yet? Are we on?
We
The
something.
We're about to be.
So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we get your comments, your feedback. You might not agree with us. We have already
probably
gotten
don't.
angry letters. You can't hurt our feelings. This, I mean, just say what you want to say.
I ain't never coming back, so I don't care.
Yeah. Send all your emails to wehatedemain@religiouslyincorrect.com.
If you got something to say to me, say it to my wife. Say it to Sister Tiffany.
I can't wait to see that. Make sure you have your phone on when you do it. This has been Religiously Incorrect. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Instagram, all them places.
Yes, sir.
And make sure you tell a friend, tell 5 friends, tell your mama and them to check out our next episode.
We coming at you 2020.
See me on
2020.
MySpace.
Uncut.
See you on Black Planet.
Black Planet.
We need thank you. Hey, we need Mike to say film before live.
Yeah, right.
Right. Full laugh track.
My wife said, I hate going to sleep to fake applause.
Right.
So now I go to sleep to blackish.
We're all right.
What's up?